No, today I have been telling stories of the objects in my own personal collection. We have told the story, which I will be telling at 4 o'clock again, of how this broken sword blade came into my collection and the history behind it. We have told the exciting story of this fragment of cloth I have, this piece of a torn jacket from the very Duke of Monmouth who battled against his own uncle on the last battle on English soil, ripped from his jacket as he fled the field of Sedgemoor. I have also told you the tale of another battle, of Queen Boudica, a lock of her very hair here held in this box. And I told you of a story, an almost unbelievable story, of a man cut from the belly of a whale while he still lived, ladies and gentlemen. And this was the knife that cut him from the belly of the whale that had ingested him in the South Seas. But my story now takes you to the oceans once again, and it takes you to a story of piracy. Now here I have a fragment of a map. Yes, it is, however, just a fragment. If anybody has the other half, I will go halves on you with the treasure we shall find. Unfortunately, it is the other half we seek. For this, I am reliably informed, is a pirate map showing the location, if I had the other half, of lost treasure. Now, how many of you like pirates? Put your hands up. How many of you think that they are, in fact, nothing more than ghastly robbers of the oceans who went around making good law-abiding people's lives a misery? Yes, indeed. For they are nothing more than robbers and terrible fellows indeed. True. And I will prove the truth of my statement by telling you what happened to a grand and loyal ship called the Sarah Bonaventure in the year 1752. For this map came to me from a pirate vessel which had dealings with the Sarah Bonaventure. The Sarah Bonaventure was a well-known vessel, trading as she did in spices, in jewels, and in all manner of valuable cargo. And her captain, Captain Simm, was reliably known as one of the best and most loyal captains in the Indies. He was regarded as a fair man, and his crew signed up with him again and again and again. And they had the chance of great riches on board the Sarah Bonaventure. However, a ship with such a cargo, such a prize, would fall very soon under the vengeful and watchful gaze of pirates. And just so, one day upon the southern oceans, they spied the black flag of a pirate vessel, a much faster vessel falling upon them, which soon overhauled them and pulled up alongside. The captain, Captain Simm of the Sarah Bonaventure, refused to hand over his men, but he was helpless as they loaded his cargo aboard their vessel. And then the pirates said, "We will take your crew and make them pirates like ourselves." But to a man, the crew of the Sarah Bonaventure, loyal though they were to their captain, said, "No, we shall stay with our captain and suffer the fate." And indeed, the pirates promised them a fate indeed. They would not make them walk the plank. They would not cast them overboard. Instead, they put them in a boat and rowed them to the nearest island. And Captain Simm and his men were cast out marooned upon this island. And then the pirates sailed away and left them upon the island. Well, the island looked like a pretty inhospitable place. There was water, just about. There was just some shelter, but there seemed to only be small rats and mice to be eating. So, with no tools, it seemed that they would be lost there forever. But Captain Simm said, "We will explore the island then." So, he went around the nearest headland, and he found in the next bay that the pirates had very conveniently left his own vessel, the Sarah Bonaventure, out at anchor in the bay. Excellent, thought Captain Simm. We shall go back to our vessel, we shall get it seaworthy and sail away. So Simm swam out to his old vessel at anchor in the bay where the pirates had left it. But when he got on board, his dreams of sailing away were shattered. For the pirates had broken everything. Every sea locker, every chest, every rope, and every sail was shattered, torn, or broken in two. The pirates had smashed his old boat beyond recognition, and it was a wonder it was still even afloat. But Simm was not a man to give up, so he scoured the old vessel, stripped of anything of interest by the pirates who had now gone. And underneath a broken cupboard in the furthest part of the darkest gun port, he found that axe. The pirates had missed it. So he took the axe and he put it in his belt and he dived over the side into the crystal blue water and back to the island. And with this axe, him and his loyal crew made themselves a shelter. And they made themselves traps that they could catch small animals with. And even with the blade, they were able to strike sparks to make themselves fire. And thus, the crew of the Sarah Bonaventure managed to live on the island. But they didn't want to live on the island. They wanted to get the ship seaworthy again. So, using the axe, they pared the bark off the trees and they wove it as best they could into long ropes. And they got the ship jury-rigged back so it could once again go to sea. And they got the Sarah Bonaventure repaired as best they could, though the sails were ugly and torn. They took the rips and they tied them up, and now the Sarah Bonaventure could sail. And they were preparing to set sail when the pirates returned, ladies and gentlemen. And they saw the work that the loyal crew of the Sarah Bonaventure had done, and they tipped pitch and tar over the decks, and they set it on fire, ladies and gentlemen. And the pirates burned the Sarah Bonaventure to the waterline, and soon she sank below the ocean, and the men once again were marooned. And then the pirates left, but not before they had left a cooking pot and a gun, a barrel for drinking water, and 1 cup. And then they sailed away. So now Captain Simm's men at least had a gun, some balls for it, some gunpowder, a barrel to put rainwater in, and 1 cup between all of them. And then they lived once again on the island, but now having the gun, they could shoot the large pigs that ran around in the undergrowth. And with their axe head, they could make fire, and they built another shelter. And once again, Captain Simm's men, for several months, lived happily, well, comparatively, upon the island. But they were marooned, no chance of getting off the island. But they were living reasonably comfortably. They had the gun, they had the vessel to drink from, they had a cooking pot, and now they ate pig and lived in a shelter. And then the pirates returned once again. And this time they saw the shelter, and they saw the pig boiling on the stove in the cooking pot, and they kicked over the cooking pot, and they ate the meat, and they burned down the shelter, and they broke the gun, and then they laughed and left again. And Captain Simm steadied his men as they watched the sail disappear over the horizon, and he said, "Never mind, men, we will build the shelter again." And they built the shelter again, and they got the cooking pot back up, and they made a trap, and they trapped once again small rats and mice and birds. And then the pirates returned again. And it was very clear that the pirates were not going to kill them. They just wanted to mess with their minds, as you might say. They wanted to torment them and treat them like they owned them. And the pirates laughed, and they took the cooking pot and they smashed the shelter, but this time they did something even more cruel. This time they took away Captain Simm's crew, and they left poor Captain Simm all on his own on the island. Now Captain Simm, when he had his friends with him, he was well enough, but when they took away his crew, Captain Simm was left alone. And he begged that they should take him too. And if they didn't take him, he begged they would put a bullet in his head, because he could not bear to be left on his own on that horrible island. And the pirates just laughed at him, and they left. And as the sail once again disappeared over the horizon, Captain Simm was left standing in the surf, watching the crystal ocean as he found himself alone once more. And Simm wept because his heart was broken and his spirit, he thought, would not recover. And then he saw a ship some days later appear on the horizon, and fearing it was the pirates coming back to exact even more cruel revenge, he took cover in the bushes. But the ship was a very different vessel from the pirate ship. This time it carried more guns. This time it was a larger vessel altogether, and Simm feared that these pirates were nowhere near as agreeable, if you can use such a word, as the ones that had been tormenting him. He feared these pirates would kill him and take his life completely. And he feared for his life, because by that point he had steadied his nerves. And he hid in the bushes and he watched as heavily armed men stepped through the surf. And they held up their guns, a gun in each hand, and they said, "Simm, show yourself now, man!" Well, Simm, he feared for his life. He said, "I will not." And he hid in the trees and he moved around so they couldn't get a clear shot on him, for he feared they were pirates who would make merry with him. And he said, "I will not come out. Who are you?" And the man said, "That's not important. Show yourself to us, fellow." And he said, "I will not identify yourselves. Lay down your weapons so I know you mean no harm." And amazingly, these pirates that Simm looked at held up their weapons and laid them on the sand. And Simm walked out, thin, ragged, from the bushes, and he said, "Who are you people?" And the people said, "Well, we're not pirates. We are the Royal Navy, Captain Simm. And we have caught your pirate ship, and we have liberated your crew, and now you are saved." And they were the Royal Navy, and they had indeed caught the pirate ship, and they had indeed rescued his crew. And Simm was reunited with the loyal men of the Sarah Bonaventure, and his life and his crew's life was indeed spared, ladies and gentlemen. The pirates suffered the fate that will befall all gentlemen of the ocean, and they were hanged in execution. So, ladies and gentlemen, the pirate map I have but a half of was retrieved from their very vessel, ladies and gentlemen. And if any one of you has the other half, I will willingly go halves on the treasure it will lead us to, ladies and gentlemen. But if you think pirates are noble gentlemen of the sea, think again and consider the fate that befell Captain Simm of the Sarah Bonaventure. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you. Thank you very much. I thank you.